Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. We're going to be talking about United's transfer plans for next summer, according to Romano. Also, we're going to be talking about Madrid expressing an interest but a demand on Paul Pogba. We'll also be talking about interest in Donny van de Beek and a few other things as well. But I just want to say I'm in a good mood this morning. I don't know about you. I think I want to dance now. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very good. The international break is over. There is one more to come, but the international break is over and we've got a really exciting next 3 or 4 weeks with Manchester United. 4 big Premier League games, a couple of Champions League games in there between. So I'm very excited about it, and I think you should be as well. I mean, look, I always say this to you, don't I? That I don't want to play Norwich and bloody Brighton and teams like that I expect us to win. I think we're in a difficult position. We've taken 14 points from 21. That's not good enough. I would rather we played the biggest teams now, because if you're going to be good enough, you're going to be good enough, and if you're not going to be good enough, let's find out and let's get on with it. So I'm encouraged by these next few games. But look, let's start off with the big news that's coming out of Spain. We will be talking about a quote from Romano, which I do want to delve into, which is along the lines of Manchester United are thinking of free agents if there are any big opportunities next year. They're also looking for a defensive midfielder, and as I say, free agents going cheap, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Chirpy, cheap is not always a bad thing. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But let's talk. Big statement there from Simo. He says Ollie's the right man. Is he a United fan? Is he a Liverpool fan? That's the question, isn't it? I think the statement Ollie is the right man has to be taken into context of who's actually saying it. But anyway, let's start off with this story. It's coming from Spain. It's coming from AS. Real Madrid very impressed with Paul Pogba over the international break. I mean, I don't know why the international break is a spark for people to say Pogba's playing well. I mean, look, I saw the clip of him yesterday from Sunday in the dressing room at half-time of the Nations League, and I saw a lot of the people saying, oh, look at Roy Keane and Graham Souness in the mud. Yes and no. Yes and no. Look, everybody knows I'm a fan of Paul Pogba, but I've got to be honest, in the case of Roy Keane, I think he's been critical of Pogba because he's not been a consistent performer for Manchester United. What's very clear for me is that when you see these clips of Pogba in the dressing room as a leader at half-time for France, and we saw it in the World Cup as well, is why don't we get that Pogba for Manchester United? Because we don't. And Roy Keane is right. We don't get the French Paul Pogba at Manchester United. Does he hand his passport in and pretend he's from Stoke? I don't know, but we're not getting that Pogba, and I don't blame Pogba for that. Actually, I do not. I know ex-players will blame the player because they'll be like, well, it's down to yourself. But ultimately, I think we've had 2 managers that have had Paul Pogba and they haven't got the best out of him. Yet, predominantly for France, he hits the high levels. The reasons for that, for me, are that Paul Pogba likes playing for France. He's more comfortable playing for France. He's happier playing for France, and they get the best out of him. Now, is that because he's, international football's more important to him than club football? We've seen that with certain English players. Gazza loved playing for England, but personally, I just think he's more content in France. He knows his role in the team for France, and he's accommodated as the quality player he is for France. So I think that's the big issue there. We don't use Paul Pogba to the best of his abilities. I can't imagine Paul Pogba being in the dressing room like he is for France either. I don't think he would be that vocal. So, he's been here 6 years, and I don't think we've got the best out of Paul Pogba, and I've been very consistent about that. And I think that's why Paul Pogba is inconsistent, because we don't get the best out of him. And for anybody who wants, whatever, I'm not really interested in that. I've consistently said, even when he was playing well on the left wing, that Paul Pogba's best position for Manchester United is a centre midfielder. And yes, he's done very well on the left wing, but for me, that's just shoehorning Pogba in. You don't shoehorn Paul Pogba into a Man United side that's not challenged for a title for 8 years. Paul Pogba should be fundamental to that team in the centre of the park, and this is what he is for France. He's a leader. You don't be a bloody leader on the left wing. He's a leader. He should be in that team. He should be in that midfield. And that's a failing on behalf of Solskjaer and Mourinho and the coaches that have surrounded those 2 managers over the last 6 years. They have failed to get the best out of Paul Pogba at Manchester United, and that's what annoys me. But anyway, the story is coming that Madrid, from AS, which is a Madrid-based paper, that Real Madrid are very interested in signing Paul Pogba next summer when he's a free agent. However, this is not just your normal story of PSG are interested, United want to pay him £500,000 a week. What Real Madrid are basically saying is, from this article, is that yes, they want Paul Pogba to come to Real Madrid, but they want Paul Pogba to want to come to Madrid. They're not going to get involved in a bidding war. They're not going to start saying there's £500,000 a week. Paul Pogba's got to want to come to Madrid above anybody else, and then Madrid will make their move. And I tell you what, we talk about Madrid and their bounce back, but that's pretty. You know, I don't know whether they got Manscaped on their shirts, but that's balls from Madrid. That's big club balls from Madrid. Madrid, for me, are a club that's in trouble. You know, the Super League didn't work out. I don't feel that they are Champions League contenders. They've lost a few players over the summer. But with Camavinga going there, they obviously think they're going to get Mbappe, they get Pogba, they keep Benzema. They've got a real French connection going on there, and it's a rebuild connection. And I think that, as Carl says, it's big club moves from Real Madrid. I respect it. I like it. If that's true, I like it. I like the fact that they're saying, look, if you want to go into a circus next summer and, you know, start saying you're going to go to the highest bidder, we're out. If you want to come to Real Madrid and be part of this project, we're in. And that's a brave move by Madrid, but I also think it's a mature move, because if Madrid put their hand up and say we want Paul Pogba, but we're going to compete with PSG and whatever United are going to do, and you know maybe Newcastle will fancy a little bit, they won't get him, but maybe they will, then Madrid are sort of like left there with their hands out saying please, and I don't think they want to do that. So be interesting, because we've always heard that Pogba would like to go to Madrid. Well, you know, is that going to be the move that he wants to make? We'll have to wait and see, but I think it will certainly be interesting. In relation to Pogba, look, I can't give you a clarity on that. I don't think anybody can give clarity on that. We've heard at the start of the week that PSG will give him 500 grand a week. There's no way Real Madrid will give him 500 grand a week. So does he go to the money? Does he go for the money? If he's interested in the money, then PSG or United will offer him silly money as well. If he's interested in his career and rebuilding a project, then maybe Man United, PSG or Madrid. But look, I just think Pogba gets to January and starts to make his mind up. That's what will happen. And the way United are at the moment, I don't think he's going to sign a contract any time before Christmas, which I don't think anyone thinks that's going to happen. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Paul Pogba on that. I mean, what I'd like to bring in at this point, I'm going to talk about Donny and a couple of other things, but I just want to bring in some quotes yesterday that came out attributed to Fabrizio Romano, that Manchester United are looking for a defensive midfielder in either January or next summer. They're also thinking of the free agents market for any big opportunities next summer. Now, look, I think there's two, and Lousy says we want Tchouaméni. I mean, Tchouaméni's a very good player. I don't think United will get him. I think that was an opportunity last summer. And to be honest with you, I just think United would rather go for a Declan Rice. You know, they'll go for the very expensive English player than for the well-scouted, cheaper foreign player. I just don't think we're going to do that. But it's interesting what that quote about Manchester United going for free agents, because it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you look at PSG last summer, or what they did, PSG, I think they only spent money on Hakimi. Everybody else, Wijnaldum, Donnarumma, Messi, Ramos, these were all free signings. So you can't turn your nose up at free transfers, especially when the quality of players that are now becoming available as a free transfer because they're running their contracts down. I mean, Paul Pogba from our own club is a free agent. So you can get some really good deals. And Franck Kessie is obviously a player that I think many people would be very interested in. I don't think we'll get Kessie because I think there will be too much competition for him. But Alex says, is it true that United have an agreement for Haaland? No, it's not true at all. There's no pre-agreement with Erling Haaland. If you listen to the show I did with Romano, was it last week or the week before, we spoke about this specifically, and he said there's no way Haaland would have an agreement with anybody. Why would you have an agreement with anybody? There's just no point. There's a bidding war there, and why would you have an agreement? And also, football can change so quickly in a year's time. No, there's no agreement there. In fact, I heard last night that Man City are interested, and why would Man City not be interested in Erling Haaland? If they were very interested in Harry Kane, why would you not go for Haaland? Haaland's better, younger and cheaper. So, no, we haven't got a pre-agreement with that. I think this season, Glazers have actually backed the manager, and if the manager isn't able to deliver, Ollie should be out first. Then the Glazers for me, says Aditya. Other way around for me, but it's each to their own. But look, in relation to Franck Kessie, I think it's quite interesting. He is a free agent, and I think he would be a good signing for United. And I don't think you can turn your nose up at free agents, which is what Romano says that United will be looking at next year, some of the cheaper signings. I think that United will be I think that, look, it's a long way away, and we're looking at the immediate future. Of course, we're looking about Leicester and Liverpool and Spurs and Man City in the league and the Champions League games, and that's the short term is very much in focus with United, because Aditya's right. We've had a good enough transfer window just now to compete now, and we've got very competitive games coming up. As I look longer term and I look at the Glazers, though, I think that it's going to be a very interesting summer. Thank you for the super chat, Oliver James. I think it's going to be a very interesting summer next summer, because we've seen big expenditure. Sancho, 74 million, is already looking like not wasted money, but curious money, because Ollie's not really implementing him. I'm sure he will do, but I'm not convinced he'll start him on Saturday. And, you know, we're into mid-October, and our £74 million signing isn't one of the first names on the team sheet. Varane was an expensive signing, and Ronaldo was an expensive signing. I think next summer will be very interesting for Manchester United, because we know who we're owned by, and will they replicate that next year? If they do, I can't say that they won't, but if they do, then, you know, that's interesting. If they don't, then obviously we've just been bought with, you know, the protests, the anger, and they've just bought us off to just calm us down. So it'd be interesting to see what they do next summer. But look, they might be going for free transfers because they want to save money. They might be going for free transfers because actually you can get some really good ones. And as I say, Franck Kessie would be a very, very good one. There are others as well. I mean, Zakaria's out of contract as well. I read United will try and sign Insigne on free with about a 72,000 wage, says Lucas Wade. Not heard about that at all. But as I said, you always have to be keeping an eye on what's available for free, and I think United will certainly do that. And look, the quest for a centre defensive midfielder is obvious. But going back to what we were talking about Paul Pogba there, I really do think, bringing it back to the present, that, you know, the reason we had that Last Dance hoodie that you can get through the link in the video description, but the reality, and we do ship worldwide, but the reality is, I think that this season is a last dance. I will keep calling it a last dance. You know, Netflix should be all over it, because this is a last dance season for United. I'm amazed we haven't thought about that, because Ronaldo coming back to United over these next 2 years, they are last dance seasons. But I think this season, more than next season, is about the last dance. It's Ollie's last dance, potentially. It's Pogba's last dance. Ronaldo, okay, probably should be here for 2 years, but, you know, it's Cavani's last dance. And then you've just got a load of players that just will not put up with this for another year. Eric Bailly, Victor Lindelof, Donny van der Beek, Dalot, Telles, Matic, Mata, Lingard. You know, that's 8 straight away. Probably one of the goalkeepers, 9. You know, there's so many players that we've got for here and now. But next summer, I see a mass upheaval. And I think some of our fans are looking at this situation and going, well, we're one CDM away from being a title-winning side. Well, I would agree with that. But we missed that opportunity. It's gone. We are one CDM from being a really good title-winning side, I think. But actually, we should be a title-challenging side with what we've got. I don't want to make an excuse about that. But we should have bought a CDM in the summer, I agree. But that was then, and next summer is not going to be, let's just buy a CDM, because we're going to have much bigger problems than that. We're gonna be, and Martial's another player, that's 10. So we could be 2 strikers down. We could be 3 midfielders down if Matic, Pogba and Donny go. We could be 2 centre-backs down if Bailly and Lindelof have had enough. We might need another full-back because Telles might go. You know, there's so many things that could happen next summer for United that it's a problem. Which is why this season had to be, for many reasons, about success, the last dance. If you get the success, people want to stay and be part of that success. If you don't, people want to go. Wildcat, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Which leads nicely into Donny van der Beek, actually. Now, I actually wouldn't write off Donny van der Beek going to Real Madrid, by the way. You know, I know Madrid will want Pogba. They've just bought Camavinga. They want Mbappe. But Madrid have always held an interest in Donny van der Beek. That wasn't exclusively to Zidane. That was Real Madrid who liked Donny van der Beek. And the thing about clubs and scouting is that they don't just burn it. They don't just go, oh, that's over, he's gone somewhere else. They will keep an eye on that situation. And whilst Real Madrid are intent on bouncing back, I don't think Donny van der Beek is the profile of player that they'd go, oh no, he's not good enough. Like, he was good enough 2 years ago for Real Madrid to be very interested, and I still think they would be very interested, and especially at the price. I think Barcelona will be interested. Obviously, I'm sure you've been keeping an eye on it. The Italian outlets are saying that Juventus are very interested in Donny van de Beek as well. I mean, already we're talking 3 of the biggest names in football there after a midfielder that can't get picked for Manchester United, who are struggling. So Donny van de Beek, Juventus, Donny van de Beek, Barcelona, potentially even Real Madrid. I think that those are the sort of clubs that are going to look at him. And of course, Newcastle would want him. But if I'm Donny van de Beek, do I go to Newcastle or Barcelona or Juventus? I'll go to Barcelona or Juventus, thank you. Barca and Juve reportedly want Donny, yet those clubs wouldn't even consider signing McFred. Donny clearly rated in Europe, yet not at Manchester United. Favourites MFC, says Nick Stevens. Well, look, we can go round the corner so many times we'll get seasick with this, or dizzy. There's just baffling confusion at the end of the day. I don't know why Donny van de Beek doesn't get picked. But yeah, Real Madrid would want him. Barcelona would want him. Juventus would want him. Everton would want him. But Ollie doesn't want him. And that's the situation. And we can keep banging our heads against the brick wall on this topic, but we'll never get the answer that we want. And that is, why doesn't he play? And I've had this conversation many times. We've all had this conversation many times, that you will get the Ollie apologists, and I call them Ollie apologists because I think they are blindly defending him on something that you can't defend. The Ollie apologists on this particular topic, I'm not talking about being Ollie in, because to be honest, I'm not Ollie out at this point, but on relation to Donny, I think it's disgusting, ridiculous and confusing. But what they will say is, wow, we don't see him in training, he must be shit. And I'm like, no, we don't see what happens in training, but I do see what happens on the football pitch. I mean, I saw a clip yesterday, I don't know, I think it was on Twitter, of Fred against Wolves, where he miscontrols a ball. I think it's Trincao from Wolves, runs up against him, he tries to shoulder barge him, he ends up falling over, and they should have scored. There are so many bad examples of Fred this season, and I don't think McTominay's been much better, but especially Fred this season has been absolutely terrible. And then you will get people going, well, Donny doesn't get picked because he's crap. And hold on a minute. Can you screw your head on and press the button where your brain engages and speaks sense? I get we don't know what goes on in training, but there is absolutely no chance that Nemanja Matic or Donny van de Beek or Paul Pogba shouldn't have played more games in centre midfield this season when you look at the performances we've been subjected to from the 2 players he always goes with. They've been shockingly bad this season. That, the names that I don't even want to mention anymore. They've been terrible. And there's so many examples of it. So that's my issue when it comes to Donny van de Beek, and certainly with Matic as well, is that both of those players should have played a lot more than the players he's been picking. And the evidence is there that those players have been crap. And they could have cost us more points than they have. But they've certainly cost us points, and they've certainly made big mistakes. And it's baffling why Donny van de Beek and Nemanja Matic haven't played more games. Not just short term or last dance, but our future is also in danger, as I see no growth or progress in our youth. We are wasting the talents of Hannibal, Shoretire, McNeil, Ahmad, Alanga. Endless problems, says Aditya. I mean, I think that's a very interesting point, Aditya. And the great thing about football is it's multi-layered. I mean, I didn't intend to get into that because I think we've got a few topics I want to talk about on the morning show that are news related. But I have said that a few times, and I'm not going to dismiss what you've said there. I said it at the start of the season. Where is the path for Hannibal or Alanga this season, and why are they not on loan? Because we are a club about youth. Where is the path to the first team for the youth? There isn't even a path to the bench. Juan Mata can't get on the bench. Very soon, either Lingard, Martial or Cavani are not going to get on the bench because Rashford's coming back. We can't get players on over 100 grand a week on our bench. What chance has Hannibal got or Alanga got? There is no path to that first team, and that's shocking, really. But because of who the coaches are, they're United through and through. And it's nonsense. There will not be a young player breaking through this season, and there should be. We've got enough good players to break through this season, but there is no path to the first team this year. I don't know what you're on about there, Akina. Maybe learn to write better. Wildcat's been a member for 10 months. Thank you very much, Wildcat. Another story that's come out as well. I just want to basically kill this dead straight away. Manchester United and Ousmane Dembele of Barcelona He's been linked to us again, and United might look to get him in January because he's free. Three things. One, he's injury prone, don't go near him. Two, we've got too many attackers, why would we go near him? And three, we need other positions before we need another winger anyway. So absolutely no sense to Manchester United going after Ousmane Dembele at all. Dembélance, I mean, just be ridiculous. I don't even think, to be fair to United, I think they've actually improved in their transfer strategy. I still think there are gaping holes in it, but I think it's better than it has been. They wouldn't go anywhere near Dembele. I mean, he's the sort of player that Newcastle might sign, and that would be a big risk. United, how can you go anywhere near Dembele? We've got Sancho, Greenwood, Rashford, Martial, Lingard. We don't need another wide forward. We just don't need another wide forward. So it would be ridiculous if we went and did anything like that. But we have been mentioned in relation to him for the last last couple of days. But I think what that is, it's like, when we get linked to Koulibaly or Skriniar or people like that, these are players that we were looking at under Mourinho. And I think with Dembele, because we tried to get him a year ago, we'll always be attached to him. Like, we're going to, going back to that comment about Erling Haaland, we will be linked to Erling Haaland because Ollie's in love with Erling Haaland as a footballer. He absolutely, because he trained him at Molde and he's Norwegian and he's a striker. Ollie's just probably goes to bed at night thinking that there's some sort of, it's meant to be. I'm Norwegian, I've trained him, he's a striker. He'll be thinking there's some sort of, it's going to happen. And I don't think it will happen. I don't think it should happen, but I do think that no matter what happens with Haaland, we will be linked with Haaland right up until he signs for somebody else. There are certain players that we would just get linked to. Ronaldo's always been one of those as well. But I don't think that... Dembele's just been linked to us because we were interested in him a year ago. And it's the same with Erling Haaland. We'll never escape being linked to Erling Haaland. But what people don't realise about Erling Haaland and Paul Pogba is that they're very linked. Because their agent is, of course, Mino Raiola. And if we sign Paul Pogba on a big contract, that means we've got the thumbs up from Mino Raiola and we're getting on with him. If Paul Pogba walks out of this club for nothing, that means it's thumbs down and United are not getting on with Mino Raiola because there will basically be a fallout professionally because United will be pissed off. In which case, if you want Raiola at United... if there's to be any chance, then Pogba needs to stay at United. If Pogba leaves, I don't see Haaland coming to United. And I think United would be very foolish to bring Haaland to United if Pogba goes, because it's almost like, well, we've just lost one of his clients for free that we couldn't get a new contract out of, but let's sign another one of his clients who will run his contract down in 3 years. I'll guarantee you, whoever gets Mino Raiola, it's the same thing. Whoever signs Erling Haaland... We didn't sign Erling Haaland when he went from Salzburg to Dortmund. United tried to say, you remember it from the time, United tried to say that we didn't sign Haaland because they wanted a release clause. The truth is, Haaland snubbed United. That's what happened. Because Ollie thought he was getting him, and then he didn't. And it wasn't because of the release clause, it was because Haaland wanted to go to Dortmund, and that's what happened. And United tried to say it was about a release clause, and it wasn't. But... Haaland will go to the club that allows Raiola to get him out of that club in 3 years' time, because that's what they always do. Hi Mark, talking about free agents, how about Belotti as a replacement Cavani and Kamara from Marseille as CDM, both are free agents? Well, this is what I mean, Ken. You've just mentioned, I wouldn't personally go for Belotti, but Kamara is an interesting player from France as well. And Metan says Zakaria, Brozovic, Kamara, CDMs and free in the summer. And this is what I mean. I think United would like to go for a summer that's cheap. Of course they would. That's what United do like to do, and I think we all know that. But it doesn't necessarily have to be about that. You can sign a midfielder that is, you can buy players this summer that are very, very, very good and free. And, you mentioned a few players there that I think, Brozovic, Kamara and Kessie are all streets ahead of the midfield that we've been picking recently. But, look, in relation to Erling Haaland, let me just say this. Raiola will take him to a club where he can leave in 3 years because that's what he wants to do with Haaland. Haaland's going to be the new Zlatan, where he takes him from country to country and makes big money every 3 years. So wherever Haaland goes, they will look for some sort of... They won't want a situation where Haaland signs for Man City, or Haaland signs for PSG, or Haaland signs for Juventus, or Haaland signs for Madrid, or United, or whoever. They won't want Haaland to sign for a club with no way out in 3 years. And what I mean by that is that the golden cage, really, which is what Harry Kane's in, where Haaland goes to Real Madrid, he smashes the goals in, and after 3 years he wants to move, and Real Madrid go, yeah, you can move, but you're not going for anything less than 400 million, in which case he's stuck. So Haaland will have big choices, but Raiola will make sure that there is something in that contract that gets him out of that club, if he wants to get out of that club, in 3 years. To be fair, Ollie's agent told me we were signing Haaland in January. I'm a close friend with his son, says FIFA Gangster. You've got absolutely no chance, mate. You're not a FIFA gangster, you're a FIFA fucking liar. And look, I've seen some people in the chat going on about Luke Shaw. Jeannie's just said Shaw out. Can't stand this sort of football fan, to be honest with you. It's all about opinion. Don't dislike you personally, don't know you, but do not like this sort of football fan. Don't like people who support players over clubs, whether it's Ronaldo FC, Pogba FC, Mourinho, Bruno. I like all those players, but I don't like the supporting a player over a club. This is something that's come about in football over the last sort of 10 years, and I hate it. And I don't like the sort of fan that turns on a player because of one bad performance, because their arse is so stuck up FIFA it doesn't realise what reality is. Like, we're not playing FIFA 22, we're playing real life. Luke Shaw's not been as good as he was last season, but there's very definite reasons for that. And also, I was watching England play last night and somebody was on about this, and I said, but the reality is I've been watching football for over 30 years. There's very few players that play consistently, season in, season out, world class. I mean, I don't know how De Bruyne won Player of the Year last year, because actually I don't think he was anywhere near his best. The only two players that really have done this is Ronaldo and Messi, and they are on a different level. So look, in relation to Luke Shaw or Wan-Bissaka or any other player that seems to be the player that players turn on. Look, I believe... Hi Mark, did you watch Ajax versus Molde in 2005? Says Pranjal. Nope. And welcome to them. Thank you for being a member for 15 months, Graham. And FIFA Gangster says actually he's talking about last January. In which case, you're probably right. Ollie did think he was going to come. But in relation to Luke Shaw, has he started this season off very well? No. Has he started it off badly? No. What he's done is he's not started it off at the level he was for the last 2 years. But neither's Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire didn't start this season off very well before his injury either. Is it any wonder that Maguire and Shaw haven't started the season off that well when they had the shortest break after a very long season and then the Euros? Let's not forget that this time last year, we'd only played about 3 or 4 games, because the season started in mid-September. It started 6 weeks late, and it was 3 games a week until the end of May, and then it was straight into the Euros. So effectively, Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw, and let's not forget they'd only had a month off before that as well, from a season that ended at the start of August with the Europa League final. Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw have played an immense amount of football over the last 12 months. They then finished the Euros after losing a final, go on a very short holiday, and then come straight back into the start of the Premier League season, which they did. They weren't given 2 weeks off or anything like that. They came straight back in for the first game of the season against Leeds. Both of them look to me like they're not at their best. How we get them back to their best, I don't know, because they're not getting any breaks. I mean, Maguire probably does him some good having this injury, which hopefully we won't rush him back for, but I've got no concerns about Luke Shaw. I still think he's doing okay. He's just not at the level he was a year ago, at the end of last season. But to say to get Luke Shaw out, I'm sorry, it's this sort of football opinion that I think it belongs in the bin, because it's just like this unreal expectation that footballers must and should play absolutely amazing each week. It's impossible anyway. Absolutely impossible. Footballers, most footballers are inconsistent. What you're looking for is to try and get 3 games out of 4 where they play really well, and the 4th game they play average. And that for me would be magnificent. Name a player Ollie has got the best out of, says Codius. Luke Shaw's come good, but I always thought he had the potential to do that. I think Mourinho just didn't like him, so I don't think Ollie's responsible for Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw's responsible for Luke Shaw. I think Wan-Bissaka's been a good signing. Mason Greenwood was always going to develop, but he has developed on Ollie's watch. I mean, there's a few. I mean, look, I'm not going to say McTominay and Fred because I think they're the weakest link in the team. I think he's responsible for those. I don't think he's actually improved them. I think Fred's worse than he was 18 months ago. Actually, I think you know what, the disintegration of Fred's career has been sad to watch over the last 18 months. I genuinely believe there's a good player in Fred. I mean, we do the chart show when United do well. Unfortunately, we haven't done it for a few weeks because they've been absolutely trash. Hopefully it'll come back. But I remember doing the chart show before COVID, and Fred was consistently in the top 3. And, you know, we are a harsh community. Let's be honest. Manchester United fans are, you know, a harsh audience because the standards have to be high. And Fred was doing very well. But over the last year, he's got gradually worse and worse. And you know why I think that is? Because we've dropped him into a system that doesn't suit him. You know, basically Fred's told to sit in front of the back 4 and break up the play. And it doesn't suit him. It doesn't suit him at all. And it's interesting because when I think back to when Fred was playing well, just before COVID, you know, he was playing with Matic, who is a holding midfielder. So Fred wouldn't been having to do the job that Matic was doing. So I think you know, again, you've got to look at the coaching and say that Fred's getting a lot of stick at the moment and has become a very poor player, but he wasn't necessarily a poor player 18 months ago. Mourinho took a lot weaker United side to second. If Ollie didn't score a tap-in, he'd be a long out of Old Trafford, says Zubby. Fred would be a good signing for Newcastle, says Benjamin. I don't think Newcastle would be that naive. They're trying to win things, aren't they? Pogba isn't world class anymore. People have to realise if United can get any more than 10 million for him, then they should take it, says Murray. Well, we probably won't get even 10 million because he's going to be out of contract, Murray. But I do think Pogba's a fantastic player. I just think he's. You can see how good Pogba is when you see him playing for France. And international football is not as good as Champions League football or Premier League football, but the reality is we've just not got the best out of Paul Pogba. And I don't think even United fans that don't like Pogba, and there are some, and even the fans that would sell him tomorrow, and there are some, I think if you sat them down and said, look, forget your dislike for Paul Pogba and where that comes from, have United got the best out of Paul Pogba? No, would be the answer. Now, they might blame it on him. I would point at the fact that certainly over the last year, we've misused him and not used him in his best position. And that's a failure. But ultimately, I think Paul Pogba's time at Manchester United is very similar to Juan Mata's, because you know what, we all love Juan Mata, and a lot of us really love Paul Pogba as a player at Manchester United. But did we get the best out of Juan Mata? No. Did we contribute to that? Yes. And people like Juan Mata because he writes a blog, he's a brilliant guy, and he scored a great goal at Wanfield. But really, has Mata, and considering Juan Mata's been at this club for nearly 8 years, 8 years at a football club, what has Juan Mata actually done for Manchester United over 8 years? There's been moments, but we bought Juan Mata when he was 26, and he was one of the best number 10s in Europe. He was. I don't care what anybody says. Juan Mata, when we bought him, I was so excited because I'd seen him playing for Chelsea in Spain and I was like, he's bloody brilliant. What did we do when we bought Juan Mata? We took a number 10 and we turned him into a bloody winger. And yeah, there was moments from Mata, but it's just been a gradual waste of time. And to be honest, with Pogba, I don't think we've treated Pogba as badly as Mata, to be honest. But have we got the best out of Paul Pogba? No. And too many players over the last 8 years we've got hold of and then not got the best out of them. I don't know what's the role of Ollie at United. Can you explain me what he does if he is not responsible for the tactical setups, as Aditya? Well, he's a manager, isn't he? To be fair, Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't involved in the tactical setup as well. You just need to understand how a football club runs. Some football clubs have a manager. Sam Allardyce is the same. You know, he doesn't take the training. He's there to motivate the players, pick the team. And that's what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's role is. He's there to, you know, oversee things, but he's not involved in the day-to-day coaching. And he picks the team, and he's the manager. That's basically it. That happens at a lot of clubs, to be fair. What has Shaw done in the 8 years he's been here, says Andre. Oh, come on. I can't deal with you and your negativity this morning, Andre. What are you talking about? What has Luke Shaw done in the last 8 years he's been here? Well, I'll tell you what he's done in the last 8 months. He's proven he's one of the best left-backs in the world. He has. And all you're doing is exposing yourself through a super chat that you don't like Luke Shaw. And that comes from a place of irrational dislike. Because what we're going to do, he gave a penalty away against some shit bloody national team for not even for United, and suddenly Luke Shaw's washed. Like, he's definitely proved himself to be one of the best left backs in the world at the moment. So what's he done over the last 8 years? Well, he's proven he's one of the best left backs in the world. End of story. If it wasn't for Gareth Southgate, he probably would have scored the winning goal in the Euros final as well. So, I mean, look, again, this reminds me of Wan-Bissaka. We do have fans in our fan base that just have irrational dislikes for players. I don't like McFred because they're shit. That's it. Do I like them individually? I've got no problem with them individually, but collectively, I just think they're terrible. I'm not having it that, you know, our fullbacks are going to get called out as crap when they're not crap. I'm sorry. I'm not going to have it. But it's all about opinion, and some people might agree with him. 1 minute Pogba wants to stay, and the next he wants to go. Then the next minute he's unsure. I love Paul, but he probably doesn't know what he wants, says the football guns. I mean, in relation to Paul Pogba, has he ever come out and said publicly that he wants to stay at Manchester United? No, he hasn't. And I think that at the end of the day, you get a lot of papers to talk, don't you? But I don't think you get any real clarity from Paul Pogba. I mean, look, the day before we played the Manchester derby a few years ago, Pep said that he'd been offered Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba never came out and said anything. He just went shh when he scored a couple of goals. He never clarifies his future, Pogba. So I don't think he can get the blame for that. And also, I don't think he needs to get the blame for not making his mind up anyway. I mean, apart from being a United fan, that would be enough for me to make my mind up. But reality is, if you look at the situation at United and you're out of contract at the end of the summer, are you going to be in any rush to sign a new contract? Andre's just had his message deleted because apparently I've been going at Juan Mata for the last 8 years. Andre, I think you need to, get a grasp of the English language, mate, because I can't make it any clearer. What we were talking about Paul Pogba and him not being utilised properly, and I said Juan Mata's not been utilised properly in the last 8 years. What has Mata done at United over the last 8 years? There's been moments, but I think we wasted him. How is that going in on Juan Mata? I've basically said that we wasted Juan Mata. He's a number 10 that we turned into a bloody winger. He's never been quick. So it's got I like Mata. I think he's a fantastic. I think Mata was one of the best number 10s in the world when we bought him, and we turned him into a winger. That's not disliking Mata. That's saying that we Manchester United, didn't get the best out of a player that was way better than what we've done to him. He was never a bloody winger for a start. United always seem to struggle with number 10s. Whether it's Kagawa, whether it's Juan Mata, there's been plenty of others as well. You could put Donny into that category, but we always seem to struggle with the creative midfielder. And Bruno's one of the few that hasn't. But then again, do we get the best out of Bruno? I think Bruno is fantastic because he's got that ability to score or provide even when he's not playing well. And I think that papers the cracks with Bruno, because I think Bruno is a fantastic player, but I don't think we've got the best out of him. And the reason we don't get the best out of Bruno is because we don't play the right style of football for Bruno. We're not a possession-based team around the edge of the box. We're a counter-attacking team with a back six a lot of the time. Well, you're never going to get the best out of your number 10. So imagine, if you think Bruno's good over the last 2 years, which he has been, I think there's another gear for Bruno, because I don't actually think the way we play football gets the best out of any of our attackers. The only time there's been a good player in Fred is when he rooms with Neymar on international duty, says Gary Dowdle. No, I think in fairness, Di Maria's another player as well. Marcus, yeah. CY7 says Mata playing right wing was the most poor decision I've seen in a while. Well, look, Giggsy put him on the wing, and he was only manager for 4 games after Moyes got the sack. Moyes put him on the wing. Van Gaal put him on the wing. Mourinho put him on the wing. Ollie, I think, has played him on the wing as well. I'd love to know the amount of times he's actually played as a number 10 in his Manchester United career, because the older he got, the more it should have been about that. Mark, did you see Carragher's comments on Neville and Keane? Nope. Haven't. Someone wants to let me know. We can read that. Mark, do you think we will see more McFred because of the defence being weakened after the loss of Varane, says David Magnus. If I was going to have a bet, I'd be very convinced that we're going to see McTominay and Fred play against Liverpool at Old Trafford. Obviously, they can't play together against Leicester. So if we pick Matic and Pogba against Leicester and we win, I'll be very happy. But I fully expect he will go back to McTominay and Fred for the Liverpool game. Yes. I think some fans just type default super chats and send it to no matter what, like the Martial is lazy thing, says Moses. Let me have a quick look at this and see if I can find out what Carragher has said. I mean, to be fair, Carragher sometimes talks sense. But just having a quick look. United link with Ndidi, but it's a crap source. No, I can't see anything here. Let's have a look on Twitter. Carragher, Keane, Neville. Okay. Okay. Really interesting then. So basically, it's funny how it's funny, isn't it? You know, I always like to do that. I didn't know what had been said, and what did I say? I said, look, I know he's an ex-Liverpool player, and United have got Keane and Neville, who are ex-United legends, but Carragher does seem to speak quite a lot of sense about Manchester United, which I think you can do when you're a rival. A lot of Arsenal fans have said to me when I'm on That's Football, when you talk about Arsenal, you talk a lot of sense, but that's because I'm not emotionally attached, so I can just see it for what it is. I think they've got to give Arteta a bit of time. They're actually starting to build a team. So what Carragher said, he's sick of it. He's sick of the excuses that Neville and Keane are giving up because Ollie's their mate. And in some ways, I think he's absolutely right. I do. I think he's absolutely correct. I think that there are excuses, but I think Carragher's hit the nail on the head. We've seen this in football for a very long time. It doesn't matter whether it's Ferdinand, Neville, Keane, Scholes. They won't speak badly of Ollie because, and I sort of get why, when you've been in a dressing room with somebody and you've won trophies together, there is that sort of loyalty. But when you're a pundit, people can see through the bias. You should never be biased as a pundit because you're not on the United stand, you're not on MUTV, you're on Sky and you're on BT, and people expect not everyone's a United fan on there. And the thing is, if an ex-player isn't being level-headed with their opinion on Manchester United, then their opinion will be diluted because people will see it's biased. Biased on a United outlet's fine because everyone knows that's what's going to happen. But bias on a national outlet where it's meant to be about everything, and I think Carragher's right. He's right. You know, the thing I would say about a Scholes or a Keane or a Neville, and I love all of them, I love listening to them, but they are biased because the way they went in on Mourinho very early compared to how they've been with Ollie is hypocritical. But I know why they're doing it. It's because they want Ollie to do well, because they know Ollie is a nice guy, and they've played with Ollie, and they'll give him that extra patience that they wouldn't have given a Mourinho or a Van Gaal, because Mourinho and Van Gaal, to them, they've got no relationship with them. Why they're managing my club? They're shit. So Carragher's right, but maybe Carragher would be like it if it was Kenny Dalglish. Carragher would be like it if it was Gerrard. So I'm not going to go in on Neville and Keane and just go Carragher's right. I think he is right, but I think if the shoe was on the other foot and it was Gerrard, he would do the same. He wouldn't be there going, the football shit, get him out, because it's like Steven Gerrard, one of his biggest comrades in football for Liverpool. So Carragher is right, but the reason the Nevilles and look, Neville and Keane might have Ollie on WhatsApp. They might be in the same group. They might have lunch together. They might be mates. Imagine if Gary Neville goes, Ollie's not good enough. I really like him. He's a nice guy, but he's out of his depth. And then Ollie's on his WhatsApp saying, I'm not coming for dinner with you now. Thanks for that, mate. So, football's a funny old business. And I think Carragher's right. But on the other hand, Carragher, Neville has dropped a few hints recently. And look, I certainly think it helps the cause. I think it helps the cause when we hear about the coaching setup yesterday from The Athletic. I think it helps the cause when, the media and ex-players do start to call it out, because it wasn't happening. It's only this season, and in fact in the last couple of weeks, that we've started to see people actually calling Ollie out a bit. I don't mean Ollie out the job, but calling him out for his bad start to the season and his bad tactics. And that needs to continue if it happens. But look, we've got a massive opportunity in front of us. But of course, Carragher's right. He is right. You know, it is nauseating how our ex-players that are very vocal. You know, I've seen Scholes be vocal. I've seen Keane be very vocal. Gary's been vocal as well. They're normally very vocal, but they're quite quiet at the moment about it, because it's Ollie, and that's not actually being what's best for Manchester United. That's what's best for your friendship, and ultimately, you know, sometimes you've got to be ruthless, haven't you? You've got to be ruthless and say what's better, what's best. Anyhow, thanks everyone for watching. I said anyhow, not Eddie Howe. That's not me. I don't want Eddie Howe. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe, bottom right hand corner. We have, where are we? Wednesday. So I thought it was Thursday. I was getting more excited. So no, we haven't got a preview today. That'll be tomorrow. But we will have an 8 o'clock show tonight as standard. And obviously if anything happens this afternoon, we will discuss that. But in fact, on the 8 o'clock show, I'm sure there'll be other stuff to talk about, but I'd like to delve into that Carragher thing a little bit more, because I think there's a bigger conversation to be had there. So thanks for bringing that to my attention. Hope you all have a good day. We will have FIFA Career Mode 22 Manchester United. It's a big day today. I've got to find some wins. That'll be at 3 o'clock UK time. I'll speak to you all in a bit.